You're not bad with money. You were trained to be bad with money. The system was built to make you broke. You think about the modern economy. As an economist, the economy makes more when you stay stressed, when you're distracted, so you've got no time, and when you're in debt. But by the way, it's working exactly as designed. This was intention. If you want to go deeper with this, I built out the full version of these tools inside my Wealth Builders Toolkit. It's normally $197, but it's free right now while we prepare for the launch of our live program. You'll find the Smart Money Tracker and a 90-day roadmap waiting inside. Just click the link in the description and grab it while it's still free. Think about it. I mean, you've been surrounded since your childhood by messages that, spending equals happiness, right? We get that consumer kick, right? We go into the shopping malls and we get that retail therapy. And borrowing, we've been taught, that equals progress, being able to borrow, having a good credit score, etc. But the system is also telling you, follow your passion, while at the same time, it's handing you a student loan bill before your first paycheck when you're maybe only 18. It's designed like this. If you think about it, go back to the 1940s. After World War II, and since then, right through the 80s at least, it was designed as a consumer-driven economy because the thrifty generation that saved in the 1930s, even in the 20s, and in the 40s to kind of support the war so they can have the armaments and the tanks, all of a sudden, when the GIs returned home from World War II, there wasn't the same jobs. There was a massive contraction in jobs. There wasn't the military-industrial complex as much as it was in World War II. So what could they do? Well, the consumer had to step in order to avoid another Great Depression, a second Great Depression. So we had the origin and the emergence of things like customer loans, consumer credit, store credit, right? The first store credit. And you had tax write-offs on all interest rate for all credit, even the early emergence of credit cards when they eventually came out too. So the economy, it needed people to consume. Unlike their thrifty forefathers, right, in the 30s and 40s, all of a sudden you need to consume. This went right the way through the 80s and so on and so forth. So from student loans to credit cards, even to lifestyle advertising, the average person's choices were engineered by trillion-dollar industries that profit when you stay dependent. So if we go back to Nixon, when Nixon came off the gold standard around 1973, since then, wages stopped keeping up with productivity. Now, there were various reasons for this, but the main thing is that the economy kept doubling because up to that point, there was a little bit of a similarity between middle class and the top 1%. It was true, there's probably about 3 television channels you could watch. They were all watching the same TV channels. Average Joe lifestyle, they could at least understand what a top 10% or even a top 1% person was living like. It wasn't vastly different in the way it is today. So there has been a massive increase in the inequality at that level over the last few decades. And a lot of that has to do with the way that wages stopped keeping up with productivity. Again, the economy kept doubling, as I said, but your paycheck didn't. And to hide the gap, what banks did was, they rolled out easy credit. Then came along car loans, home equity lines, buy now, pay later, the Never Never apps. All of these things were promising convenience, while at the same time you're paying for the now by renting your future. We call this progress. So the average American household now spends, get this, more than 25% of take-home pay servicing debt. That's huge. That's colossal. Your income is your number one wealth engine, and yet a lot of people are using so much of it just to pay off debt, which isn't exactly building their wealth. And when people try to break free of the system, or the matrix, whatever you want to call it, the culture shames them. YOLO, right? You only live once. Treat yourself. You deserve it, right? Like, do you? I mean, this is the whole thing, trying to keep up with the Joneses. That's not inspiration. That's marketing. So let that sink in. Here's the real truth. Your financial life, it runs on incentives. As an economist, we know that people respond to incentives. Very important lesson, 101 economics. Credit card companies, they're making money when you carry a balance. So they're kind of encouraging you to carry a balance. Social media platforms, they profit when you feel inadequate so that you can buy whatever it is they have to sell. Employers, they love it when you're too tired, you're exhausted to build your own thing. Like if you're working from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening, or even 9 to 5, you got to come home, take care of your spouse. I mean, you've got family. Even if you're single, get yourself your groceries, cook. You've no time. You're just basically a corporate slave or a peon. You're just there to work for years and years on end. You don't have time to break free. Now, we are in the system. We have to take advantage of it and play by the rules, but it's not your discipline, right? The problem isn't your ability to work hard or your discipline. It's the incentives. Like every algorithm, it wants your attention. Every corporation or company, they want your next payment. They just want the dollar at the end of the day. The solution, or the antidote, if you will, it isn't working harder. It isn't budgeting harder. It's thinking outside the box, thinking creatively, thinking smartly, thinking differently. So the moment that you see the game, as soon as you see it, you can stop playing by their rules. You start to figure it out. So start measuring wealth in terms of ownership, not income. You want to own your savings rate. Own assets that grow while you sleep. I mean, this is perfect, right? Because you could be sick. When you're sick, I know from first-hand experience, and probably you do too, the moment you're sick, everything just gets dropped. So you can't work, right? So it's the same as well as if you think about the number of hours in a week. It's 168 hours in a week. You cannot work all 168 hours. So if your earnings are your number of hours worked times your wage, then you're limited by the number of hours you have to sell, right? 168. That's if you don't sleep, work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can do something to get over that, right? You can have something that works while you sleep. So assets, even if it's just one share of an index fund or a small rental property, right? That's what this channel is all about, because the system only wins if you stay consuming. So get off that hamster wheel. You only win when you start compounding. That's what it's all about. And wealth requires countercultural behavior. You've got to think against the grain. Think differently. Slow down and own with an N instead of owing in terms of O, like with an E. So own assets that make you money while you sleep. Look, it's not your fault that the deck is stacked, but it is your job, once you're aware of it, to stop playing the wrong game. You're going to pivot from consumer to owner. That happened to me at the end of 2016, right, where I decided I'm going to join the capitalist class. I'm going to start owning index funds, stocks, etc. That's not even 10 years ago, and it changed my life. Everything changes. Stress dropped. Once I knew that there was an out, I wasn't always going to be on the hamster wheel. I wasn't putting money away linearly, just saving a little bit and keeping it in cash. All of a sudden, my money was working for me. I could retire a lot faster. I knew I was going to be a millionaire and a multimillionaire. I never, like millionaire and my name, Michael, I never saw the two. I never thought they would be in the same sentence. I was always about academe, kudos, etc. But once all these things changed, and they did for me, and they can for you, it happened to me in less than 2 years, I really, really changed my game. Confidence rises. That's really through a lot of competence. Once you become good at something, your confidence rises. Once you become less stressed as well, stress dropping, that feeling, right? It's a really good feeling. And suddenly you're working on your life, not making other corporations rich. You're working on your own life, not just in it. You're working on it. We hear a lot about working on your business, not in your business, but you heard it here first in this video. You're working on your life, not in your life, right? You want to try to take big steps that are going to improve the meta or mega life, not just the actual day-to-day. If you're serious about making 2026 the first year you actually start building wealth, not just learning about it, start with the Wealth Builders Toolkit. It's my $197 system for tracking money, automating saving, and planning your first property. I'm giving it away free for a limited period. So click the link in the description to grab it while it's still available. Once you see the trap, once you're acutely aware of it, you can step off it. Again, it's ownership. So start measuring ownership, not income. Stocks. side businesses that you own, real estate, the OG, even skills that you can use to compound. Could be online, could be consulting, whatever. If you're ready to escape the modern money trap, by the way, let's flip the script together. So if you want to see how I actually did it myself, I've put together something for you down below. It's everything schools forgot to teach and everything the system hopes you'll never learn.